What is up, y'all? Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. We, of course, are the Alternates. I am your host, Brian Cullen, and with me is everyone's favorite draft prospect, Clayton Stevens. Clayton, good to see you, buddy.
I'm happy to be here, just, fulfilling my dream of finally making it to the league. Very excited about it.
Well, let's hope that you are not pick 29 or 30 in this year's draft. Before we jump into the show, we want to take a quick second, ask you all to subscribe to the show on YouTube. That's youtube.com/thealternates, and wherever you get your podcasts. Go ahead and like the video, leave us a comment, drop a rating and review on Apple Podcasts if that is your preferred platform. And most importantly, share the show. All of that goes a very long way in helping us grow this thing, and it helps people just like you find us. If you want to get a hold of us, you can email your comments and questions to thealternatehoop@gmail.com, and go ahead and follow us on TikTok so you can see all of the little clips that we like to post on there. We are doing another remote episode here. We have gotten out of the first round of scares from last week of health and safety protocols and all of that, but another one popped up just a couple days ago that involved our studio, so we are playing it safe again today and staying home to record this, but we hope that you are all doing well. Clayton, how are you?
I'm great, man. We're gearing up for the draft here. I love the draft. I love the prospects. The trade season's coming up. Obviously, we crowned an NBA champion. Pretty amazing. We'll get into all of that, but really excited, man. There's just a lot of fun stuff happening. I'm excited for the summertime. I'm excited for Summer League. I'm excited for all the stuff coming up in the summer. So specifically when it comes to alternates and basketball stuff, like I'm on cloud nine right now. This is maybe my favorite time of the year. The rumors, the silliness, all of it. How are you doing, Ryan?
I'm good. Staying busy. Living through this weird weather that we have in LA right now, where it's 80 degrees and then thunderstorms and then 80 degrees. And my neighborhood goes absolutely buck wild this time of year with fireworks. So trying to keep my cats calm through the apocalypse of summertime in my neighborhood. But no, I'm good. I'm enjoying it's actually the off season, and I'm with you. I'm looking forward to Summer League. We've talked about it. We'll see if it happens, about potentially going to Summer League together this year and checking out some games, which should be fun. But you're right. There's a lot happening. So let's get into it, because the NBA is year round and there's a lot to cover.
It's not the off season. This is the on season. It really is. This is when it really turns on.
Yeah, it's not the boring time of year where teams are playing each other and there's records and stuff at stake. Come on, you can get that anywhere. This is where the drama happens. So let's jump into headliners here. First piece that we have in headliners, pretty big one. Game 6 happened since the last time we recorded. It was in Boston, but the Warriors go on to win Game 6, 103-90, to win their 7th NBA title as a franchise. It's their 4th title in 8 years, and a man named Steph Curry, might have heard of him, finally wins Finals MVP for the first time, which is insane that I'm even saying that it's the first time in his career. But really cool to see. Incredible season from Steph. I mean, he gets his first Finals MVP. It's his second MVP of the season because he got the Western Conference MVP earlier this year.
Yep.
So pretty cool to see that happen. Curious what your overall thoughts are on the finals this year and the outcome and the Warriors winning their title.
I thought it was a great finals, honestly. I know that, maybe some people were pretty let down by the Celtics here and, losing 3 in a row, pretty... a deflating end of the season, no doubt about it. But I'm super high on what the Celtics did, man, because we talked about it a lot on this show. Like, their tale of 2 seasons was the most tale of 2 seasons of any team in the entire league. Yeah. In November, December, we were completely out on this team. You caught on to them early. We started riding the wave. The wave took us all the way to the finals. Their best players are very young. And so, yes, I'm really happy for the Warriors. I'm really happy for Stephen Curry and Wiggins and all these guys who worked really hard to get here and all that. But I think my first thought goes towards the Celtics, really. And that's why I bring them up first and all of that. First year head coach, to get them all the way that far, you just got to try and not be a prisoner of the moment too much and really take in how far they came in really a half a season. Really that's the difference for them. So this stuff can change super fast. Great season for the Celtics. They disappointed here, but I don't think they're much in the business of a shakeup here. I think this is just sort of something to build off for them and something to look forward to next season and all of that stuff. What about the Warriors side? I kind of want to get your opinion. We know how you feel about the Celtics. You're high on them. You love them. What did you think about the Warriors and the way they were able to close this out and get it done here?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'll just quickly on the Celtics side, because you brought up me being on that wave so early and all of that. I'm with you. I don't they're so young, right? Like you look at their top talent, obviously the narratives have already started about, can Jason Tatum do it and all of this kind of stuff. But I don't think that we can really frown upon the Celtics and what they were able to do this season. I think that it would not be crazy to see them top of the East for the next few years. They, Ime really impressed me this year as a head coach. And, but I definitely think they have some questions to answer in this offseason. And I'm sure that we'll kind of dive deeper into some of that stuff. But, overall, man, Robert Williams, there's a lot of talk about Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum and all that. Robert Williams, I think, really showed the world who he is and what he can be and what he's capable of. They need to figure out some ball handling stuff, but we'll get into that as the offseason progresses. On the Warriors side, you're talking about how cool it was to see this team do this. Like I'm with that with the Warriors too, right? Like we looked at a team that had Kevin Durant in this unbeatable, lineup and he left and everybody rejoiced. Like finally the Warriors are done. Like nobody has to, because they've broken so many hearts over the last few years. And then they come back with, Clay injured for, he missed 900 something days between his last game in the finals and then his return. Yeah. His story arc was incredible to watch him come back. His first point back after 900 days out was a dunk. He rejoined his team. There's all these stories about how tough it was for him. They were they won 15 games in their first season without Durant. And to see them kind of come back and put it together and win another one, they even said themselves that this one is different than the other ones, that this one means a lot. And I think it's because of the road that they had to get back and how low that low was for them, after losing in 2019 and then to come back 3 years later and win a title was just really cool to see. On that, I got a question for you because, we talked about before this finals matchup started, when we knew the two teams going in, we talked about how much narrative and legacy there was, right? With the now the Warriors are ahead of the Bulls in third place for most franchise titles, right? Like the Celtics lost their opportunity this year to become the most, have the most titles in NBA history, all of that stuff. There are four people who I think their legacies took some kind of impact from this series. And I want to know which one you think had the biggest impact to their legacy. Yeah. Steph Curry, Jason Tatum, Steve Kerr, or Andrew Wiggins.
Very interesting choices here. Very interesting choices. I'm going to throw a fifth one at you, and that's Klay Thompson, who has now joined the J.R. Smith legacy of phenomenal parade guys. One of the top parade guys ever. The man was chugging Hennessy by the minute, knocked over a poor fan, dropped his championship ring on the ground, lost his championship hat in the ocean. what more can you say? One of the greatest championship celebrators we've ever had. And for, like you said, a guy who's, missed 900 days, he deserves it. I'm super happy to see him do this. So, Clay, this definitely affected his party legacy. Him and J.R. Smith are the best of their eras. Really, I mean, what else can you say?
I would say that Clay had that going.
He
already,
did, but this
Clay.
Just like this took it up another level. I mean, the dropping the ring on the floor minutes
Hilarious.
after just absolutely pulverizing someone to the ground. It's hard to beat. Okay, so the four names you've chosen here, I think the most affected, honestly, is Andrew Wiggins. I said a lot of times that, yes, he was a really vital part of this team, but because of the youth movement that they, were able to get into because of, losing a ton of games a couple years ago,
right?
Being able to acquire draft assets and go get Kuminga and Moody and, have a little bit of a youth movement underneath their really great core. It felt like maybe this was just a temporary, hey, we got Wiggins for a couple years and whatever. It kind of feels like he's irreplaceable now. It's not just the stuff that we loved Wiggins for before, the scoring and all of that stuff. It's the defensive stuff for me. The job he did on Tatum, the amount that he was able to put out on the floor, right? Like just the amount of energy he expended, the amount he showed, like the amount of in shape he is, all of that stuff. Yes, he signed up for another year, but I think this really impacted him long term. I think people are going to be looking at him long term as, hey, he's a really high quality player in this league, high quality guy. He's shown that he's moved past his early era. And I think this has really redefined who Andrew Wiggins is as a player. It did for me, certainly. I can admit that openly. And I think a lot of teams are going to be looking at this situation and saying, can we pry him away from the Warriors? So I think this has really affected Andrew Wiggins moving forward. Is there a different name for you, or are you on the same as me?
I'm with you. I actually thought that Wiggins probably had the largest impact. For me, I would say Steph Curry is in this conversation too, because Steph throughout his career, especially during, the last 8 years of these like finals runs and titles, he's encountered a lot of haters and a lot of people that question, who he is, what his impact is on the game, his overall legacy as a great. And this just made it really hard to argue against him. We've had this conversation, so we don't need to say much on it. But for me, it was cool to see him put some of these feathers in his cap to be like, okay, now what? How far are you going to move the goalpost now for me? Because it is getting harder and harder to argue against him being an all-time great.
In terms of the other two names, I think we'll just touch on them real fast. Steve Kerr. I think this is his 11th NBA title when you count playing and all of that, his whole career. I mean, what a legacy for him. Yeah. His story is still unwritten as well. I mean, he's got a lot to go, I think, left in the tank. I know he's had some physical stuff that's kept him out at times. But if he can stay around and keep up with what looks like maybe a few more years of the Warriors, who knows what he's capable of. And, we know he's a disciple of Pop and all that stuff. And he's kind of putting himself up with those guys. So big moment for Steve Kerr, I think, as well. And, all of his convictions, his basketball convictions, he really stayed to them through his whole tenure here and didn't get, moved off it when they were the worst team in the league. So I think this is a huge feather in the cap for Steve Kerr. And in terms of Jason Tatum, so many players have this happen to them. It's not a big deal to me. There's the tragic Johnson, Kobe Bryant, airballing in the playoffs. There's a LeBron, early in his career going to the finals. This happens. And at 24 years old, it's more than okay for this to happen for him. I'm not worried about him really moving forward, but obviously he has some questions to answer. But I think really this is for me, positively impacted his legacy. The path he took to get there, going through the Nets, going through the Bucks, through the Heat, and he put the team on his back at times. The Bucks series, I thought he was, the second best player in the series behind Giannis. So
yeah,
I think this was actually a really good playoff run for Jason Tatum. Obviously, we have this little hiccup here at the end, but not too worried about his legacy.
Yeah, I mean, the dude is, like you said, he's 24. He's just starting to enter his prime, if he's even entering his prime yet. So it's crazy to even talk about legacy with him at this point in his career. He's so young. Most guys peak like at 27, their late 20s. He's not even 25 yet. He is I don't even think he's entered his peak. He still has room to grow and get better. And I have no doubt in my mind that he will. And I think that this is going to be great for him in the long run to have experienced that stage and all of that. So I'm not worried about him. Let's move on. We got some quick hitters here because tomorrow is one of your favorite times of the year, and that is the NBA draft. We covered the lottery and all of that, but the draft is actually going to happen. So let's get into that. We'll kind of quick hit these. I know that you had a question for me to start here.
I think we got to start at the top of the draft because we know you are an Orlando Magic sympathizer, fan, all of that. You love this team. They have.
I prefer truther, by the way. I'm a Magic
I like that.
truther.
Okay, you are an Orlando Magic truther. They have a huge decision ahead of them. The number 1 pick in the draft means you get to do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah.
The question is, who are the Magic going to take at number 1, right? This morning, John Hollinger put out a thing on The Athletic saying he thought that Chet was actually a real possibility here. Chet Holmgren, obviously, I'm talking about. Early, when we talked about the lottery and the Magic won the lottery, you said you liked Jabari Smith. That was sort of your pick. Seems like most mock drafts out there do have Jabari going number 1 to the Magic. Have you changed your opinion on this at all? Have you watched some more Chet tape? Maybe you love Paolo now. I don't know. Are you still in on Jabari, or has anything changed for you here?
Yeah, the Chet stuff is interesting. I'm sticking with Jabari Smith. I think that he checks the boxes. Like I said last time, he just is kind of the perfect fit for what they need. Chet is obviously great. He's a top 3 for a reason. There's a lot that he can do, but I think that there's a lot more question marks around Chet. And given the way that the Magic have been the last few years, and then some of the upside that we saw this year, I don't know. I know it's the number 1 pick. You don't get many of these. You can't mess this up. But I don't know if the Magic are in a place to really take a huge gamble. Not that Chet Holmgren is necessarily a huge gamble, but he's a gamble nonetheless. And so I think Jabari Smith fits perfectly with what they're doing and what they need. And I love them. It's also very Magic to your 2 prospects are both, 6'10" and 7. How tall is Chet Holmgren?
Or whatever, yeah.
Yeah. That is so Magic. But I think they need to go with the sure thing, and I think that is Jabari. Chet is interesting, but you look at the rest of this roster, they don't really need him as much as they need someone who's a little more versatile in Jabari. And Chet's big thing is he can stretch and defend, right? That he's had some great defensive, he's
a defensive highlight
IQ
guy, for sure. Yeah,
yeah,
big blocks and stuff.
Definitely. Yeah. But we can't forget, and this is tough for me because personal feelings aside, they've got Jonathan Isaac coming back, who is a defensive stalwart, right?
No question.
He's an incredible defensive guy. So getting him back healthy, it lessens your need to get a guy like Chet Holmgren. So I'm still with Jabari. My question for you is, unless you have thoughts on that.
No, well, let me just quickly respond to that, which is I'm with you. I will say I've gone back and forth a little recently on. I have Chet third, and I just have Chet third because of the questions, like you say. I just have never personally seen him be the number 1 option. And if I'm picking someone number 1, I want to believe that they can be a number 1 option. Jabari, I will say he's not a traditional number 1 pick because he he's not a ball in his hands guy, but obviously did a lot in college, proved a ton. I like his defensive upside a lot. I have him number one because I believe he's just going to be a really good player, and he's going to hit a ton of 3-pointers, and he's going to defend at a high level. Hard to argue with that. I have Paolo right behind him, and I've kind of gone between the two, who I think is the better player, because Paolo certainly has more of that, what I perceive to be that number one pick, juju, mojo, right? He's a ball in his hands guy. He can play make. I think he's going to come into the league on a bad team and score 20 points a game right away. But I think Jabari's the pick here. I really do.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, so I've got a couple. We got some more stuff here. I'm going to rapid fire these questions to you since you are the draft guy. So a lot of people say that the draft begins at the 4th pick because those top 3 you're good in either way. I will say this: if you're in top 3. I heard another draft expert say this, and I couldn't agree more, that worrying about fit at that point in the draft is kind of silly because your team sucked and there's a reason why you're there. So just go get the best guy possible. But a lot of people say the draft really begins at 4. Jaden Ivey is right there. Who's getting Jaden Ivey? And what are the Kings looking to get out of it?
Yeah, like you're sort of implying here, it sounds like the Kings are more than happy to move this pick and try and get something for Jaden Ivey because a lot of teams want him. We're hearing everything from Memphis, New York, Indiana, Oklahoma City. I mean, every team is connected to Jaden Ivey. And there's a reason. He was one of the best players in college basketball. He's kind of a college superstar, I would say, right? Especially in his second season. I think he averaged like 18 points a game on a really good Purdue team and clearly the best player. I think the Kings are looking to get some more stuff here. I agree. I don't think they're going to go for Jaden Ivey. It doesn't really make sense. You select him, you trade him. I don't know what the Kings need. I know they need wings.
Yeah.
That I know. Do you like, here's my question, and I don't know how I feel about it even. If you're Detroit, do you like Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham backcourt? Is that something that you're into? Like, can they share the court together? I think that's interesting. That gets you in the Jeremy Grant sweepstakes, which we know a lot of teams want Jeremy Grant. If I'm the Kings, I don't want to make a deal with Indiana. I've already made a deal with Indiana. I got who I wanted from them. So I don't think it's Indiana. OKC, Lou Dort. I think that's an interesting choice for the Kings, right? That. Like, he doesn't really make sense for Oklahoma City. I think you could probably pick a couple players away for him here, and then Oklahoma City could, have the 2nd and 4th pick in the draft. It's very Oklahoma City, right? It's very Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
And I think Jaden Ivey makes a lot of sense for them. It could mean the end of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander if that's what we're doing. Yeah. So a lot of questions. I don't have the greatest answer for you here, but I think it's a wing. It's got to be a wing, and it's got to be somebody proven because, Fox, Sabonis, maybe Rashawn Holmes, if you're keeping him around, like they have the core of a team that should be able to do something if you can add some more veterans. The number 4 pick is a great way to get some, and they have a lot of leverage here, so they should be able to land something really good.
Yeah. Okay. We got a couple quick free agency kind of things going on here before we get out of headliners. Jalen Brunson, apparently it was reported he went to the Mavs earlier this season, last season. We don't know the exact timeline, but he approached the Mavs front office and asked for an extension of 4 years, $55 million, and the Mavs declined it. He is now entering this free agency and reportedly will be receiving over $20 million a season. The Mavs could have gotten a deal and completely fumbled that one. Do you think he's going to be on the Mavericks next year, or do you see him moving somewhere else?
Well, again, it comes down to the draft here. What does Oklahoma City want to do? Because if they're in the business of, just acquiring more assets and they're not worried about targeting a specific player, the Knicks, it sounds like, really could go after Jalen Brunson, and they could be offering him reportedly $25 million a year. That's going to be tough for the Mavericks to match, honestly. So I think they're in danger of losing him. I really do. I do think they're going to find a way to keep him, though. Christian Wood news, giving up a really nice asset in the 26th pick, moving off of a ton of players in that deal as well to open up more minimum type roster spots and stuff like that. I expect Jalen Brunson to stick around. I think he developed a really nice chemistry with Luka. By the end of the playoffs, we saw, they're fully starting together, a legitimate backcourt that really feels like it could be something moving forward. And adding Wood to their team, knowing the wings that they already have that are pretty defensive minded, and guys like Finney Smith and stuff like that, I think they're still a good fit for him. He's going to get that $100 million deal that he's looking for, and I think he's going to stick around. But I'm only like 75% sure of that. I think there's still a decent chance that the Knicks could really go out and get him. We know his father was just hired by them. That's very interesting. Yeah. I don't know that he wants to play for his dad. I think that might be a little overrated, right? Like, did Austin Rivers love playing for Doc Rivers? I don't know. I don't know if he did. But I expect him to stick around. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think there's mutual interest. I think he wants to stay there. And I love that you brought up Luka, because it is tough to leave a guy like Luka Doncic when you've built a great chemistry with him. You know what he's capable of doing. You just went to the Western Conference Finals. Like, the future is bright. And so I think that, yes, the Mavs messed that up, but they will find a way to make it work because they want him. I don't see them getting anything better than him in the free agent class. And so they are going to figure out a way to make it work. And I think he's banking on that. If the Mavs don't, then I think he's gone, because he's going to say, hey, I need my money. I need to secure my future and get this. So
$100 million deal is next coming one is for him. That is without question. Absolutely. They could have had him for 4 for 55, which would be one of the best deals in the NBA.
Yeah,
tough.
Wild. Next one is interesting. Bradley Beal, who always gets brought up at this time of year with everything. He's always. Is he staying? Is he going? It was reported that he was opting out of his player option for next season. And so there were questions about whether or not he would be changing teams and signing somewhere else. Funny thing is, the report came out, and like literally minutes later, he tweeted, "Wait, huh? LOL." So did he opt out? Do we know that was that a response to him saying, "I didn't opt out of shit. Where did you get that from?" Or was it him saying, "I just opted out 15 seconds ago. How the hell is this already being reported?"
Tough call. I mean, really funny, for sure. The Bradley Beal, you're so right. It's so funny every single year. I mean, this is 4 years running, I think, that Bradley Beal's been, is he staying? Is he going? Whatever. I expect him to stay. I don't see a fit out there for him with a team with cap space. Is he going to San Antonio? No. It just doesn't make any sense. Is he going to go to Detroit? No. It doesn't make any sense. Orlando? No. And those are really the teams with the big cap space that could just, outright sign him. Then we know, the Knicks could open up some space, but we're talking about $25 million. We're not talking about $40 million, which is the type of deal that Bradley Beal probably wants. So, they're looking at Jalen Brunson. I don't think they're looking at Bradley Beal. I just don't see a fit for him. I expect him to stick with this opt-out, go ahead and sign a big deal, and then you can always bark your way out anywhere, it sounds like. It's a million players have done it. He's a high caliber player, obviously, scored a ton of points, but I just don't know what the interest out there for him it really is.
Yeah, I'm with you. At that price, for sure, it's tough for a lot of teams. Last one here, and this is really quick. I just want to know your thoughts on this. There's a lot of Kyrie Irving news happening right now about him possibly getting out of Brooklyn, leaving. It was the Lakers, the Clippers, and who's the third? There's a third team they're saying might be involved.
Well, I mean, people were even,
I
going
can't-
back to, again, San Antonio has cap space. He said at one
Yeah,
point
it's-
that was one of the teams he preferred to go to, whatever.
Yeah.
Again, not really a fit in my eyes.
Yeah. Is this just trying to create leverage? Do you think it's his side trying to create leverage? Do you think that there's any, is there fire with this smoke, or is it just kind of a ruse to make a deal happen?
I think it's likely a ruse to make a extension happen here for sure. Stick around with his buddy Durant. I take a lot of I put a lot of stock in what he said at the end of the season about, we're building this thing together, and it's me and him, and we work with the front office, and we're going to do everything together. I take a lot of stock in that stuff. But I will say, if there's any player who's going to do something that we don't expect, it's going to be Kyrie Irving, right? But he's got a $38 million, is that right? $38 million player option. I mean, he's going to opt out of that, and it just doesn't, I don't see it. I think the Nets are kind of doing the right thing here and holding strong. And, I could see a situation though where they play it out this year and just don't extend him, let him opt in and just see how it goes. Obviously the Ben Simmons of everything makes a huge difference here, right? Like that is could change everything for this team. But it's Kyrie, so you never know.
Yeah. The most unpredictable man in the NBA,
100%.
maybe. All right. We're going to move on. We have some games that we've been playing this season, some segments. Now that the season is over, we have to recap them. So let's quickly look at some of the games that we've been playing through our first NBA season and see how some of these played out. So let's start with Duo Jam. The last time we picked Duo Jams was after Game 2 of the NBA Finals, and we picked front court players in our final round of Duo Jam for the NBA season. Final NBA Duo Jam here. I picked the Celtics. You picked the Warriors. Yep. Your front court from the Warriors was Kevon Looney and Draymond Green for games 3 through 6. Draymond shaky to start the series, but especially those last couple games, he kind of went back to what he does best and started to figure it out and really started to look like Draymond Green again. Kevon Looney, they won a title, so I can't say much, but I'll say through those games, it was driving me crazy how little he was playing in those games. But who am I to say anything? They're hanging a banner, so
I think it was just
what do I know?
More Gary Payton and, like you said,
even him though, through games 3, 4, and kind of 5, he was very low usage.
Yeah, I think you're right. It was more the Draymond last couple of games. He looked so revitalized and just playing that role that we knew the classic Draymond from a few years ago.
Yeah, so those two combined for 179.2 points over those games for you. I had the Celtics. I grabbed Robert Williams and Al Horford, two very exciting guys to watch. Robert Williams, as the series went on, kind of became the best player on that team and showed the most improvement just game to game. They combined for 257.3 points. Thank you, Al Horford three-pointers. Thank you, Robert Williams blocks, giving me the win. We end our NBA version of Duo Jam Season 1. I had a record of 8 wins. You had 13. You went 13 and 21. I went 8 and 21.
Out of 21. Right.
Out of 21. Yeah. Sorry. Out of 21. Out of 21. You went 13 and 8. Yeah. So not a great record for me. Great record for you. I think I started to figure some things out towards the end of the season. So we'll see. We'll see how I bounce back. We might continue Duo Jam in the offseason, maybe do some WNBA Duo Jam. I think that would be fun. Let us know in the comments if that's something you'd be interested in, or if you have a better idea for some kind of offseason
a crazy
Duo Jam.
one-time summer league one where we're just throwing darts at the wall, because who the hell knows?
Yeah. I love that. So anybody out there, if you've got any fun ideas, let us know. Then we were playing Start Today this year, which is where we would take a look at the standings, where they were when we recorded the episode, and work our way through the playoffs, making predictions all the way to the finals, and we crown a champion. So we ended up playing technically 8 rounds of it. 1 round was a play-in only, so we will not be counting that towards the overall record because we did not crown a champion. But the point of the game was to play this, see how many champions we have, and see how accurate we were in those for the actual final outcome of everything. So over 7 games of this, 7 rounds, the 7 finals matchups that we ended with was Suns Nets, Suns Bucks, Suns Bucks again, very high in the Suns to start back in January when we started, Grizzlies Sixers, Nets Mavs, Celtics Warriors, and then Celtics Mavs in the final round. Of those 7 matchups, the Nets won 2 titles, the Bucks won 2 titles, the Sixers and Celtics each won a title, and in round 6, when we accurately predicted the finals, back in episode 29, it was on April 26th for anybody who's curious, the Warriors were crowned champions. So we got it once. We got it once. Our favorites here were the Nets and the Bucks, which clearly did not pan out as we thought. But we were able to accurately guess the finals champion one time. And the one time we did it, we got both sides right, which is pretty funny.
That is funny.
We got
I think we did a good job, though. Look, the Bucks, look, they missed Middleton. I mean, it's very likely, I think, that, if Middleton's healthy, we're probably looking at a Warriors and Bucks finals, which we never picked. Yeah. That's the way this stuff goes, right? And then, everything happened with them, the James Harden, everything. Who could have predicted any of that?
Who knows? Yeah. The
Sixers, I think we were a little prisoner of the moment there, right? With the James Harden move and all that. And we were also high on the Grizzlies at that moment. I think that was our most prisoner of the moment pick of them all. But overall, we got to all the best teams in the league. The Suns obviously let down, but they were one of the best teams in the league, and for good choice, we had them up there for sure.
Absolutely. Well, this was fun. We obviously started it through the last third of the season. So I'm excited to see next year when we start doing it from the very beginning and we play more than 7 rounds and we see how it ends up. It was super fun. Everybody let us know how you enjoyed that. Can't wait to get back to it when next season starts. And then the last one here, Bet Brains, which I know we will keep going through the off season because gambling never ends. There is no off season for throwing money in the gutter. What do we have to recap our last round of the NBA season of Bet Brains?
Yep. So we just did game 6, which did end up, of course, being the last game of the finals. And so we had 3 bets here. First one, we had Jason Tatum under 6.5 assists at plus 200 odds. You put down 75 alternates dollars. It barely lost. You almost pushed on it. But of course, putting the half on there makes it unpushable. He had 7 assists. Just went over the top on that one. Second one here, we had Derek White over 2.5 3-pointers made at plus 225. You put down 75 alternates dollars.
Yeah.
He put up 2 threes, but he didn't hit any. The Derek White experience was not as good as I hoped it'd be. I'll be honest.
We got a tiny baby bump. It was a short-lived prime baby bump.
Very short. And then the last one here, we had one of the greatest celebrators of all time, Klay Thompson. I had him at over
Game 6 Klay.
Game 6 Klay. Over 21.5 points. It's a lock. I had it at plus 300 odds. You were like, this is done. Put 100 on it. No, he's gonna do it.
I said he was doing it in a quarter. I said he was gonna do it in 1 quarter.
Yeah, he only had 12 points in the game, unfortunately. So you lost on this one. He had a pretty rough shooting night. I think he went 5 for 20 from the field. He got the shots up. Yeah. He tried. That's for damn sure. He tried to have a Game 6 Klay performance. They didn't need him to anyway, so it didn't end up mattering. But the final Bet Brains here was a losing one, but very fun season with it.
Yeah, there will be more opportunities as the offseason goes for me to continue to build my winnings here. I got to say, just to wrap up our last season bets here. Clayton, I always say this. I appreciate you setting those lines. It is scary to me how good you are at doing this. For anybody who's not aware, he's not going to like DraftKings.com and pulling, betting lines off of those websites. He's not checking out any sports books. He is making these up. And I texted you when Jason Tatum got his 7th assist, and I had some choice words for you. But in that, I let you know that I'm just beyond impressed at how good you are at this. And it is, I think, whatever happens in the future, obviously music is your path. But if you ever decide that you're kind of over the music life, I think that there is a future here, a career for you in setting betting lines, because it is
I appreciate it.
Hauntingly
I appreciate
good.
it. And, Gavin Newsom, if you could get off your ass and do something fun for us and legalize sports betting here in California, we could maybe have some more fun with it. So let's make some money for the state here and get that legalized, because that would be fun.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. We hope you enjoyed all the recaps and all that. Some of these games are not over. Like we said, we're still going to be playing these through the off season. As the off season goes, we will be going weekly. We've got some fun guests that we're going to have coming on, some really cool conversations, as well as off season coverage and anything else that might come up in the basketball world. Until then, our next episode, remember to be kind to yourselves, be kind to each other. I am going to leave you with this song, which is Cross by Cross Stitched Eyes, a incredible band from the Bay Area. If you enjoy Rudimentary Peni, you will love this band. You will absolutely love this band. This is off their 2009 Cornac LP on Alternative Tentacles Records. Thank you so much. We will see you all soon.